Hey, welcome back to my dorm room. I wanted to give you an update on another class I'm taking. This is my black and white photography class, and I've been studying architecture, specifically concrete, and how it relates to skateboarding. Um, and I'd love to talk to you about that. I'd love to talk to you about what that process was like. So basically, these are the final images that I have here. I've got, maybe I took 12 to 14 images to the final stage, and I narrowed it down to, well, I needed to choose at least 8. So I chose, I think there's 10 here. And the composition of them all looks something like this. And I'd love to walk you through kind of my thought process here. But one of the things I really struggled with in this assignment was finding a narrative within the pictures I'd collected, because I knew there was some pictures that I found particularly striking. Like when I took this picture, and obviously this isn't the high definition thing, sorry, it's gonna look a little blurry, but I was just like, oh man, like how does this relate to what I'm trying to say? And I was able to figure it out and put together this narrative given the pieces I had at my disposal in this collection I made. But that was a difficult part, but I learned so much also technically. And this was a darkroom class, right? It was film photography, where you're working with the chemistry and stuff like that, which is probably not very useful to know in general, right? But I think I took a lot away from it with respect to just understanding the visual medium and thinking deeply about things like contrast and stuff like that. And I don't have a lot of background in that, so it was really an awesome course to take, if only because it was so orthogonal from the disciplines I associate with my core competencies. It was very new to me, and for that reason fun. So a few things to just kind of call out here. The story I went with, yeah, it's definitely the space, the location of any of these images is pretty relevant. Concrete down here. Can you see my cursor? I think so. Here, let's get this guy. It looks like a little finger. Concrete down here, the floor down here. This is obviously, literally grounding the situation. On the right-hand side here, we've got this gate, which casts this beautiful shadow over Santa Cruz and the Thrasher logo. Wanted to include the Thrasher logo because I actually visited this guy's grave site as part of the experience, but that didn't get into the final renderings. But that was very interesting. It was very interesting to kind of embed myself in these skater communities, if you will, and kind of explore how they see the world and what that was like. It was, I'll tell you about it later. But basically, that's what's going on here. We've got these gates, sort of control. We're talking a lot about the architecture and in ways how it can be antagonistic. Obviously, a gate is pretty literal, right? But what may be less apparent are these notches, which are explicitly designed to prevent skateboarding. And obviously the rigidity of this photo, the structure, the straightness of the edge, that has a lot to say in conversation with this piece. There's something cute going on here with this line between the two benches. But when we jump over here, we've got the opposite, right? A lot of decay, and this is caused by skateboarding in this area. This is in the post office by my school, so it's I think this is very, very beautiful to compare against this, because we see the rigidity, and then we see this is I don't know, it's been abused. Next to a descending stairway beside another descending stairway, so there's some sort of conversation happening there as well. And we've got a pretty dramatic focus here. I think this is probably one of the most striking images I made, directly working with my instructor. Kind of leading us down and an introduction to some protagonists for our story. Not every story needs a human character, but this one does. And this leads down onto this sort of wood chip container. It's a playground, and there's a interesting conversation happening here between this texture and that of the concrete, which is surprisingly in with the shitty resolution. Actually, it does a lot. I mean, they look almost the same. It's like some pieces of pasta, but they do look different in the high definition renderings. Okay, so let's talk about these protagonists, these stairs. They're ascending. That's pretty literal. Into these guys. Again, we're at a school, and it's an idea of people sort of repurposing the environment provided to them, and then that is ultimately realized by an environment not controlled like this, not repurposed like this, but made for the skater. And that's kind of what's going on here. We've got an actual skate park. And just to draw attention to the gutter here, these images, you know, very tight together. The gutter, constant, uniform, in control, right? At some points, it's just zero, right? These images are right next to each other. But as we, you know, ascend the stairway, now we've got a gutter that's making its way, and obviously I shouldn't be using white to show that. Here, let's get a nice ugly yellow. So the gutter is introduced here, and that starts separating the images, and it expands. So this space is smaller than this space, smaller here, and then this is the largest space. So the idea here is we're sort of floating away, and maybe that could have been the images could have been a little bit tilted, maybe to you know, something like this. We could do a little bit of this. Where is this guy? All right, whatever. It could be tilted, but I kept it on a grid because I like it when it's simple like that. And yeah, so something to note here is this relationship I wanted to draw attention to. Oh, what's going on? Why can't I draw on the image? Ah, alas. What's going on here? New layer? All right, I seem to have lost my ability to draw. Well, that's not very nice. There we go. Okay, so there's a conversation happening here between this curve and this curve. I don't know if that came across too well given the gravity of the gutter, but it's something I wanted to have there. These guys are looking here, which was kind of the idea. And then we've got something going on with the bar here. You know, this is a bit of a stretch, but wonk. That's kind of the idea I was going for. But, you know, what does this space look like? This looks like almost an invitation. And then this guy, I struggle with this guy a lot because I love his face, but I have no idea what he's saying. Here, I'll pull up the HD on that guy. Look at this kid, man. Love him. I really love him. Yeah, I don't know. I've decided to call it challenging. I think his face is challenging, and I think it's sort of an invitation to say, hey, you know, what do you think about this whole debacle? I think that's kind of where I was going with that idea. And yeah, I think that's it. So overall, a lot of fun. I met these guys at the local skating location, and I'm hopping around with I'd recently broken my leg, so I'm trying to catch up with these people. Interesting, right? The human relationship as a part of this, because it really, I mean, this is a product about concrete, and I wanted to be explicit about that, which is why I included an image of literal concrete. All of these images have concrete except for this one. I don't know if you might count that as concrete. I wanted to have more concrete. I would have loved to maybe just fill out, like, I don't know, a few more panels of concrete down here, just to show the variety that we can achieve with concrete, because there's so many different kinds of concrete, and there's so many ways that concrete can look, you know. But I guess that's kind of implicit in the drawing already. I mean, if you look at this concrete versus this concrete versus this concrete and this concrete, it's like, and even this guy, I think it's already apparent, but I don't know. Maybe I could have been. Yeah, I don't know. I question whether or not I should be more explicit about that. But that's the idea. Here's the art. Here's the images. I will now show you each image one by one, just in case you want to pause the video and look at the high definition of that. But I'm really proud of the work I was able to get done this quarter. I definitely felt like I learned a lot, and yeah, it was a ton of fun. very, very different skill. These are the contact sheets. And then this is the final kind of composition on the wall. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, I think I'm going to be looking at photos very differently from the future. I think this was a valuable class to take, and I'd highly recommend anybody considering it to give it a try. Thanks.